We are born male or female, and from that moment, the script is handed to us. Boys don't cry. Girls should be nice. Man up. Act like a lady. But what if these scripts aren't truths, but chains? What if gender isn't a destiny, but a decision made for you before you could speak? In today's episode, we rip open one of the deepest ideological battles of our time. Are gender roles natural, or are they prisons built by culture? Jordan Peterson, the evolutionary psychologist, stands firm. Gender roles aren't oppressive, they're adaptive. Rooted in biology. Men lead. Women nurture. That's not patriarchy, that's nature. But Judith Butler, the radical theorist of performative gender, burns that idea down. There is no natural man or woman. What we call gender is just a social performance, endlessly rehearsed. And the script can, and should, be rewritten. Between them lies the battlefield of identity, biology, and power. Because in the modern world, gender isn't just about who you are. It's about who gets to decide. So ask yourself, if you had been born in a different body, or a different era, would you still be you? Welcome to Thinking War. We hear it everywhere, in politics, in classrooms, on social media. Gender is a construct. Men are wired to lead. Feminism destroyed femininity. Masculinity is toxic. But beneath the noise lies a deeper war, not of opinion, but of identity. Today's question is not just academic. It's personal. It's primal. And it defines how we see ourselves and each other. Are gender roles oppressive systems designed to limit potential, or evolutionary adaptations that helped us survive? Do we need to dismantle them, or understand them? This debate is not just about who cooks and who works. It's about how we love, how we parent, how we fight, how we grieve, how we exist in a world that's rewriting the very definitions of man and woman. Jordan Peterson, the clinical psychologist turned cultural lightning rod, argues that traditional gender roles are rooted in biology, not bigotry. That men and women, on average, desire different things, and that forcing equality of outcome, instead of opportunity, is not justice, it's tyranny. Judith Butler, the philosopher and gender theorist, vehemently disagrees. To her, gender is not a truth but a script, a performance we've been rehearsing since birth, taught by culture, reinforced by norms, and punishable by deviation. This is the fault line. A man says, I feel like a protector. A woman says, I want to be strong, not sweet. Society says, pick a side but do it quietly. Today we won't be quiet. Today we will put these worldviews face to face. Peterson versus Butler. Instinct versus ideology. Hormone versus hierarchy. Because before we decide how we should behave, we must first ask, who told us what it means to be male or female in the first place? And more importantly, what if they were wrong? Jordan Peterson enters this war not with hesitation, but with the quiet confidence of evolutionary biology behind him. He argues that gender roles aren't constructs of oppression, but organic expressions of thousands of years of adaptation. To him, the distribution of roles between men and women is not a patriarchal conspiracy, it's a pattern, a survival strategy, a reflection of biological tendencies shaped by selection, not society. He would say, hierarchies exist not because someone invented them, but because they work. Peterson believes modern attempts to dismantle gender roles confuse equality of opportunity with equality of outcome. And in doing so, we risk unraveling structures that, while imperfect, have sustained civilization. He points to data. Men, on average, are more interested in things. Women, on average, are more interested in people. Testosterone and estrogen don't just shape bodies, they shape behavior. According to Peterson, the fact that more men dominate fields like engineering or combat is not oppression, it's orientation. And to force parity in all domains is not justice, it's tyranny in progressive clothing. His critics call him regressive, but he sees himself as a realist. He would ask, if you remove structure in the name of freedom, what do you build in its place? He warns that the attack on traditional roles leaves people, especially young men, disoriented, ashamed of their masculinity, and unsure of their value. When everything masculine is framed as toxic, he argues, we don't get enlightenment, we get collapse. To Peterson, the masculine and the feminine are not cages, they're complementary. Masculine strength, order, and assertiveness balance feminine care, nurture, and empathy. He does not deny that these traits overlap across genders, but he insists the overlap isn't complete. To erase difference, in his view, is to erase depth. So he asks the uncomfortable question. What if, in our rush to liberate, we're actually amputating parts of ourselves? What if true progress isn't sameness, but synergy? Peterson's vision is not about going back. It's about remembering what evolution has already written into us. He stands firm. Nature is not a bigot. It's a map. Ignore it, and you lose the territory. If gender is performative, then who wrote the script? Judith Butler steps into the battlefield not with a sword, but with a question that slices just as deep. What if gender isn't something we are, but something we do? To her, gender is not a biological truth. It is a social ritual, rehearsed, repeated, and enforced through culture. We don't inherit it like eye color. We imitate it, perform it, and are punished when we get the lines wrong. Butler's central thesis? Gender is a performance. Not in the sense of faking, but in the sense of producing, like theater. Every outfit, every gesture, every boys don't cry, and be a lady command becomes part of the script. A script we never auditioned for. A script that doesn't allow rewrites. In Butler's world, there is no natural masculinity. No default femininity. What we call male or female behavior is simply the repetition of norms, rewarded when aligned, punished when defied. She would say, "You weren't born a man or a woman. You were taught to behave like one." This idea shatters centuries of natural order. It undermines the argument that traditional gender roles are rooted in biology. Instead, it says they are rooted in obedience. Because once you stop performing your assigned role, you're no longer legible. And in a society obsessed with labels, to be illegible is to be dangerous. This is why non-binary identities, queer expressions, gender non-conforming behaviors are so violently policed. Because they expose the truth Butler screamed beneath every page. Gender isn't nature. It's discipline. And discipline is always about power. The father telling his son not to cry is not biology. It's patriarchy. The mother telling her daughter to be polite is not instinct. It's conditioning. Butler's philosophy flips the mirror. If being a real man or a true woman is so natural, why does it require so much effort? She dares us to ask, are we expressing ourselves, or just surviving our assigned roles? Her view is not nihilistic. It's liberating, because if gender is a performance, then it can be rewritten. And rewriting the script is the first act of rebellion. Two worlds, one defined by the gravity of biology, the other by the mutability of performance. Peterson stands firm. Gender roles are not oppressive, they are efficient. Nature doesn't negotiate. Hierarchies exist because they work. The masculine and feminine are evolutionary solutions, not chains. He would say, when you erase roles, you don't liberate people. You confuse them. To Peterson, telling boys that masculinity is toxic and telling girls they must become men to be powerful is not progress. It's ideological vandalism. He sees the collapse of traditional roles not as a triumph of freedom, but as the unraveling of meaning. An experiment where the subjects are society's children. Butler answers, meaning was never fixed. Power always disguised itself as nature. She would argue, what you call natural is just repetition dressed up as truth. She sees gender not as a truth to be discovered, but as a performance we are taught to act. And if it can be acted, it can be rewritten. This is not a debate about roles. It's a battle over reality itself. Peterson warns of chaos when tradition is burned. Butler welcomes the fire, because the old house was never home for everyone. So what's more dangerous? Holding on to roles that no longer serve in fear of collapse? Or collapsing roles to create space, at the risk of losing all structure? One promises order, but demands conformity. The other promises freedom, but risks fragmentation. And caught in between, a generation unsure if they're lost or finally free. Open your phone. Scroll. Tap. React. You're no longer just a person. You are a brand, a performance, a projection. And gender? It's not just a biological given or a cultural tale. It's an algorithm. In the age of TikTok, YouTube, and curated Instagram reels, masculinity and femininity are not inherited traits. They are content categories. Social media doesn't ask who you are. It asks how well you play the part. And suddenly, Peterson's biological essentialism and Butler's performative gender collide in the comment section. Videos of men crying go viral, not for empathy but for spectacle. A woman lifting weights? Inspirational or threatening, depending on the viewer. Every gesture is data. Every outfit a signal. Every silence a stance. Here, the question isn't just what are gender roles. It's whose version gets rewarded. Peterson's world fears collapse when men stop being men and women stop nurturing. Butler's world fears stagnation when we stop questioning what any of that even means. In the workplace, assertive women are labeled difficult. Gentle men are dismissed as weak. The binary scripts remain, but now they wear digital skins. And the pressure? It's suffocating. Young boys search YouTube for how to be alpha. Young girls get millions of views for feminine energy hacks. Everyone is performing, no one is asking why the stage exists. Is it oppression or optimization? Capitalism learned the script of gender before we even questioned it. Pink razors, blue toys, productivity hacks for stay-at-home moms, hustle grind sets for future CEOs. We don't just consume gender, we monetize it. And resistance? That too becomes a trend. Non-binary aesthetics are commodified. Gender fluidity is a fashion choice. Pronouns are hashtags. But this isn't liberation. It's a marketplace. So ask yourself, is our digital world erasing gender roles, or just reskinning them? And more importantly, are we redefining ourselves, or simply rebranding to survive? Because if gender is a performance, as Butler says, then social media is our biggest stage. And if Peterson is right, if biology is destiny, then we're avatars trying to code over DNA. Either way, the algorithm is watching, and it rewards the loudest role, not the most authentic voice. The war has been loud and necessary. Peterson reminded us that behind every social structure, there is a biological whisper. That roles may not just be imposed, but emerged. That not all boundaries are prisons, some are maps. But Judith Butler cracked that foundation. She showed us that performance is not pretense, it is power. That identity is not inherited, but enacted. And if you can perform it, you can rewrite it. So where does this leave us? In a world where gender no longer fits cleanly in a box, or even a spectrum, but flickers like a signal, context-driven, ever-shifting. We are no longer asking, are you a man or a woman? We are asking, who are you when no one's watching? And if that answer changes, day to day, context to context, maybe it's not confusion. Maybe it's complexity.